Welcome back to the Valor Flight Crew Podcast, where we bring you behind the scenes of the air medical and EMS community. In today's episode, we are joined by communication specialists Carissima Collins and Toya Jones. They share powerful insights about their career paths, the critical role they play in high-stress situations, and the importance of teamwork in keeping crews and patients safe. Often the first line in the chain of air medical response, they have such an important role in keeping the entire mission safe and successful. Get ready for a great conversation that highlights the dedication, professionalism, and heart behind the voices on the other end of the radio. Thank you to our sponsors, Night Flight Concepts, Airbus, and Precision Aviation Group.
Welcome to the Valor Flight Crew Podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts and Vertical Valor Magazine. Produced in partnership with Echo, Every Coast Helicopter Operations, the Valor Flight Crew Podcast promotes the personnel and life-saving equipment behind helicopter air ambulance services. Join hosts Mike Fadale and Blake Shrider for in-depth interviews and expert insights from air medical personnel, pilots, communication specialists, and maintenance crews who play critical roles in airborne emergency response.
Line 1 accepting.
Copy, Line 1, gotcha, accepting. You're going to be talking to Red Feather 1 on LCEMS.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Valor Flight Crew Podcast. Mike Fadale here and Blake Shrider, and we are your hosts for the Valor Flight Crew Podcast. How are you doing today, Blake?
Hot and sweaty, Mike.
Wish I could say the same. Say the same.
Yeah.
We are a very atypical August day today. I know we won't be listening to this, or this podcast won't be going live until September, but a very atypical day in August. It rained all day yesterday and it's cool today. So I am not a happy camper as usual. So give me my warm weather.
I'll trade you, man. We'll trade for like a month.
Sounds perfect to me. We can trade for the whole summer if you want.
Perfect.
I'll come down there, hang out for a few months. I wouldn't mind
Sold.
that.
You can dodge all the hurricanes, man.
Yeah. Well, we've got a great podcast for you today. Before we get into it, just wanted to give a huge shout out to Vertical Valor Magazine and Vertical Helicast platform. Without their support, this would not be possible. So we want to send a huge shout out to them. And if you guys are listening to us on a regular basis, make sure you also head over and check out our partners at the Vertical Helicast, such as the Hangar Seat Podcast, Helicopter Podcast, the Real Rescue Podcast, and of course, Vertical MRO Podcast. You guys are definitely missing out if you're not already listening to all of those. So
Great shows.
Awesome shows, and some stand-up guys that go along with hosting those shows. So make sure you head on over there and check them out. So we've got a great podcast for you guys today. We've gone and talked with some of our other disciplines within the industry, such as our pilots and our mechanics in the past. And today we get to sit down and talk with our comm specs. And I think that this is an extremely important conversation that we all need to have, because I feel as though they are such an integral part of the team, but often one of the most forgotten parts of the team. And we really want to try to bridge that gap and really have a better understanding for what our comm specs are doing on a daily basis to keep us safe out there, because they really are our eyes and ears behind the other side of the radio. So without further ado, we'd love to welcome our guests, Carissima Collins and Toya Jones. How are you ladies doing today?
Good, thank you.
Good morning. How are you? Yes, very well.
We are doing great, and we are so excited to have you on board with us today. So welcome. I just wanted to start off, if you guys don't mind, just starting with a little introduction of yourselves. Carissima, if you don't mind just telling us a little bit about who you are and your experience as a communication specialist.
So I work for Air Methods, and I cover a couple states in the Northeast. I'm coming up on my 13th year, and I am a single mom. I have a 24-year-old daughter who has moved back home. I'm not sure how this is going to work out for the two of us.
Yeah, good luck with that. Might be some butting of heads along the way.
Yeah, I'm a single mom. I own a home. I have a bike. I ride a motorcycle, and I truly, honestly love what I do. I don't know that there's a lot of people that can say that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Carissima, I know I've had the pleasure of speaking with you on the radio many times in the past. When I worked at a prior agency, and it was always a pleasure to hear your voice on the other end of the radio and know that we had somebody that was truly cared about what they did and had a passion for it that was helping us out along the way. So certainly appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
And welcome to Toya. Toya, how are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi. My name's Toya Jones. I work for IU Health Lifeline. We're out of the state of Indiana. My office is in Indianapolis. We cover 5 bases, and we have 6 aircraft. We have 3 of our bases have ground. The rest are just strictly air mode. I've been there. This December will be 9 years. Started out and have throughout my 9 years have been strictly critical care. So when
Awesome.
I started, I did the training process and kind of got fast tracked into the critical care aspect and took over from my manager basically, so they can take other roles. So that's been my role the whole time. I'm married, getting ready to hit 35 years. Have one
Congratulations.
son,
Wow.
and we recently moved in together like Carissima. So we can kind
Well,
of share that.
Good luck
share
to
that
both of you
aspect.
then.
Absolutely. My son's 27, so I live with him, his fiance, and granddaughter. So we've got a full house, and my husband. So yeah, we've got a full house, and we just bought
Nice.
bought a house together. So
Awesome.
Well,
so we're
congratulations
not
and good luck with that.
empty nesters. We literally went
They
back
flew
into
the nest and came back.
absolutely.
Now you're the babysitter.
Full time. Wouldn't trade it. Wouldn't trade
No.
it at all.
That's amazing. So, ladies, we'll go and kick it off and see, Toya, since we're already talking to you, can you tell us
Sure.
kind of how'd you get into this? How did you decide you wanted to be a communication specialist and into public safety? Did you have any prior experience of that, or how'd you settle into this role?
My entire life truly was in EMS world. Family background. We have my entire family's all in EMS, fire, that kind of stuff. My mom was a dispatcher for, I believe it was 38 to 40 years, I believe.
Wow.
And still in the state of Indiana. So she did 911. And so I knew that was going to be something I would fall in love with. I kind of ventured off and worked the job. 3 jobs is what I've had in my entire life. So I knew firsthand it was going to be in the EMS somehow, some way.
Sure.
I ended up always wanting to work for this company and didn't ever think it was going to be one of those jobs that you could go into. I thought it was just more of a dream than a reality. And so I happened to apply. I saw an opening and it's like, let's see if this can really become a reality.
Right.
It was a 3-month process. Got into it, did my interviews, what felt like a whole atmosphere of like 9 people. So it was like very overwhelming.
Yeah.
3-month process, just getting in the door. But it was one of those interviews, jobs that you I've always explained it to where I feel like this job was meant to be for me, in a sense that the interview process, the job training, I felt like all those experiences were laid out for me behind the scenes with, me not knowing that was going to be a
Where we didn't know.
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
One of those things you gotta, pinch yourself at some point,
yeah,
right?
that was the feeling that I was having. And it's like, this is
awesome.
not really for me, but yeah, sure enough. And then you get into the role and it's like, man, this is an awesome job. And I've told them when you go through orientation, I was like, you're going to have to fire me to get rid of me. I will be here for retirement. So, and I've said that to the day, and it's like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm 55 years old. This is going to be it. So I've loved every aspect of my training, my coworkers, the job that I do. I hold a very high standard for myself just for knowledge and a rapport with the crews. So it's a lovely job, and you get really a lot of satisfaction out of it at the end of the day.
I think we all love, we all hear our dispatchers, we talk to you guys all the time, and we don't get the chance to really know the other side and really see you guys. So this is really great. And I'm so thankful that you guys are willing, to come on and share this with us. I have a ton of questions about a lot of this process. So we're definitely going to have a great chat today. So Carissima, I think, you said you've been doing this for 13 years. So obviously there's something that's stuck. Can you tell us a little bit about how you fell into this role?
Oh, absolutely. So EMS, healthcare has never been part of my history. It was never part of my life. I have an associate's degree. I'm a legal assistant. And life happens. I was unemployed and I was a single mom, and I had to, in order to qualify for any state benefits, I had to apply for so many jobs every week. And it was a Friday afternoon, 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm tired, cranky, not a happy person. And I happened to run across this posting, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just fill it out. And I won't get it because I'm reading the description. I'm like, I have no medical background. I didn't even know this position even existed. And I got a phone call a week later for an interview, and the gentleman that hired me, he said he was so impressed by just my enthusiasm and my customer service. And then I realized that this is an absolute life-changing position. Yeah. I feel like I'm part of something bigger, like what I do matters. I may not always know the outcome of the patient, but I know that I did something to help that patient get to where they need to be, whether it be a higher level of care or just the help that they needed. It amazes me how profound my job is to my life. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I, like Toya, they're going to have to fire me to get rid of me.
Exactly,
I am 100% convinced that they're going to find me stroked out at my desk. Because
or frozen to death because it's so cold in there.
Yeah, we're frozen to death. But yeah, I can't, it amazes me. I can't even count how many lives I may have had an impact on. And these people will never know that.
But I think, we don't really think about that half the time. Like, I think we get to the point in our career sometimes where we like, it's just another job. I just got to go to work today. And like, we don't think about the impact that we have on a daily basis. And you guys being able to do your job so well and get that patient access when they need it to get wherever they need to go. Like that is like the first stepping stone in this huge puzzle that needs to come together just right. And you guys being able to do that and get us out the door to go get this patient is really paramount in making a difference in this person's life. And I think sometimes we kind of forget that or maybe take it for granted, or, it's just on those bad days, you're like, I really don't want to be here today. But, the job is so important. And so that's why I can't wait to kind of, hear some more about what you guys do on an everyday basis. Carissima, if you can start us off this time and just talk to us about an impactful story that maybe you can think of from your career that really highlights, the importance of your job as being part of that HEMS team.
This sounds really bad. I don't hold on to those stories. There are some people that I've worked with. They're like, hey, Carissima, do you remember this flight that so-and-so did like 4 years ago? And I'm like, no, because I don't retain it. I can't.
Right,
there is no way that I can go to work with the same enthusiasm every day if I hold on to that. But I do have a few that I remember. 7-8 years ago, it had to have been 11 o'clock at night, midnight. I get a scene flight. 17-year-old kid jumped off like the awning of their house to jump on the trampoline, and he missed it, and he impaled his inside of his groin and on the fence post.
Wow. That's a bad day.
You know what? Yeah,
Bad
my
day.
crew arrived on scene. They found Dad there. Dad was folding him up. They cut the fence post and they transported this young man and the fence post to the hospital. And as far as I know, this guy recovered all the way. And I'm hoping that he was able to leave a productive life and have children. And it's like I play a little part of that
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
to help this poor young kid who had a DA moment. But I'm hoping that he's married and has kids now. And sometimes I get to see where patients have revisited the basis because we get newsletters and, it's always cool to read those. And it's like, it warms my heart. It's that I played a little bit in stories like this.
Yeah. And I think, when you talk about some of those stories and I can't imagine, first off, even getting that call that you guys get about, the need for service and then hearing what happened and having to relay all that information. But there's just, there's some things that like, you can't make this shit up, right? Like it just,
absolutely.
there's just these crazy stories that happen out there. And it's like, you guys being able to get us out the door is one piece of that puzzle, but you being able to get all of that correct information. And I don't know how you are able to like, not just like put the phone down sometimes and be like, what did I just listen to?
Right.
Oh, we do.
Well,
And that's probably half the time after you're done talking to us. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't stand those girls.
And Toya, I'm sure that you can relate. Just earlier this week or late last week, we got a scene call for motorcycle versus bear.
Well, wow.
Bear.
Bear. Okay. That's not.
Yeah.
That's a new one for me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And you're always just like, oh my gosh, how did that even happen? I can understand motorcycle versus car, motorcycle versus deer, but
Yeah.
bear.
Yeah.
Not a bear. That's a new one for me.
Who won, I guess is the question.
Right?
I'm not really sure. I think they got stood down.
Oh my. Toya, how about yourself? If you can share an impactful story with us from your career.
This one's tough for me. This was about 7 years ago. And it was from my hometown, ironically, and because I'm probably about 25 miles from work. So the county called our center and requested one aircraft at the particular time. And so they gave the location, and my eyes and throat just like big-eyed, hard throat swallow. And I knew I needed to be the calm, at the moment. It chokes me up today.
Yeah.
That it was a school shooting.
Mm.
And
Wow.
I don't know why it's still hard, but it's still hard.
Sure.
But yeah, it was a school shooting, and they asked for one aircraft. So, automatically really just kind of kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I get, the aircraft, at least he was already in the area. He was coming back from a transport. And so I literally quickly hit him on the air and said, hey, can you go? And he goes, absolutely. So he turned pitch and went towards the town. He was there within like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I didn't hear any more information back from the county. So I actually had to call them. It's like, hey, my aircraft's really trying to get a hold of you guys and we're not getting any response. And so we talked back and forth, and they're frantic, because
Yeah.
my hometown, we're chill. We don't have a lot of violence. So I knew I had to just stay focused, take the home, out of my mind, and just think of it really as just another call. So we get them there, and they had another aircraft there, because then they called us back like 3 or 4, 5 more times. And it's like, hey, I need another aircraft. I need another aircraft. I need another one. And it's like, how many do you really need? And at this point, they really didn't know how many people really were injured. They just needed them on standby.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, we did our thing, got everything under control, got everybody out that needed to be taken care of and transported. And once that call was over, I said, I gotta go. So I took the headset off, walked out the door, and just lost it.
Yeah.
So it's been tough. It took several months really to kind of let it go.
Yeah.
So sorry, it still just chokes me up.
No, I think that it really shows that how much our communication specialists, our dispatchers, all you guys and gals that are there taking those first calls. And, I've been in our dispatch center for our EMS system, and just having to get the information from people that are in such a terrible moment, or, in one of the most, worst days of their lives, when they're trying to get information, the things that are happening, and for you all, for the training that you have, for everything of how you're able to direct and narrow to get the information that you do from these people is amazing. I couldn't do it. You know, we all say like the things that we could or couldn't do for this job. That would be very hard for me because you don't see anything, you hear it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And like you said, that stays with you. And I think that's why it's so important that it's part of that chain, you know, when, you know, for years, AHA, you know, has talked about that chain of survival. Well, early onset, early, you know, access and dispatching, that help, like that's the biggest piece. We don't know where to go unless you guys are able to tell us and dispatch and get the info from the people on the other side of the phone. And then to see, like you said, you're in your hometown and hearing the address and knowing immediately where it's at and what could be happening, and to see how much it affects. I think you guys are just as much as part of this reality of all the things that we see. You guys hear it, and to not see some of those outcomes in that, like, I mean, maybe sometimes we get a little bit of that closure because we're seeing that, but yeah, I think for you guys, it's just one after another. The calls are going to continue to come in. You dispatch it, and it's going to continue. And, you know, even Carissima, like you said, if you hang on to some of these things, sometimes it makes it hard at times. Yeah. And that's why I think it's so integral that you guys are part of the process, and especially getting that loop closure and feedback for you so you can heal. And after hearing all these traumatic things happening, it's so important that you guys are part of that link to move forward.
When every second counts, trust Night Flight Concepts to keep you mission ready. With advanced night vision technology, FAA certified repair services, and expert training, we've got your six. Visit nightflightconcepts.com to learn more.
So sorry that you're still affected by that.
Thank you.
My heart just bleeds for you. I couldn't possibly work in the central region of the bank, which is Nebraska, Iowa.
Right.
I couldn't. I'm cross-training one of the desks over there, but it's Colorado and Utah and Wyoming. I don't know anybody that lives there. I couldn't possibly sit where we did Nebraska and Iowa. I know too many. I just couldn't.
Yeah, it's too close to home.
Kudos to you for being able to do it locally. I could not. You know, we discuss it sometimes, and I'm like, I could not be a 911 operator. I am not the one that you want to have on the other side of the phone if your baby's not breathing. I am not the one, because I'll sit there and cry with you.
Yeah.
Whereas air medical, we're one step removed.
Yeah.
You know that. You know, it's the county calling you, not the person.
Right.
So, but yeah, kudos to you for being able to do it in your hometown. I could not, and I'm very sorry that it still affects you so profoundly. And I hope that you'll heal from that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate
so that way
that.
you can do it. That way you've got the strength to get up and do it every day.
We really appreciate you, being vulnerable and sharing that moment with us. I think that, those calls happen in every single one of our careers that are things that will stick with us for the rest of our life. And that's clearly one of those for you, but we're certainly grateful that you're willing to share that with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So obviously what you guys do is extremely important, as evidenced by both of those stories. And thank you, ladies, for sharing that. But to get to the point where you are able to do this job as effectively as you do, what kind of training and education goes into a lot of these things?
For myself, we do a lot of pull calls, listen to those calls coming in, and make sure that we actually pick up on the things that we might miss, and just practice inputting the information in. If we're getting a scene call, making sure our CAD, we know how to input it to where the CAD's not going to I don't know what address you're talking about, because sometimes some of those softwares, when you put in the word and versus an and symbol, so you just got to remember what those addresses are so the addresses pull correctly. And I don't know, it's just constant practice, constant just getting in the training stuff on our software, to make sure that we just stay on it. I do part of the training, I'm part of that aspect. So we do a lot of PIP drills, so I hate those, especially when they spring them on you and it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Your heart just drops.
Yeah.
Your heart drops.
Exactly.
And you this and you yeah, I had one, I'll tell you about it when you're done. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. But I don't know. I feel that training you can't get enough training. You feel like you know what you're doing, and then you'll get one thing and it's like, man, I wish I had done that again, one more time. But it really, when you do it so often as we do with Charisma and myself, we're not newbies. So it is.
We like to say
well
seasoned.
You are. And it just, unless you do it daily as often as we do, it just, like I said, you still learn things new every day, but for the most part, you're just on autopilot. You know what you need to do to get your crews out there, get your addresses polled, and just
get all the
work
info
through the
you
process.
need. And
Yeah.
So, like, if I decided I wanted to be a ComSpec tomorrow, which I assure you, ladies, you will not see my application because I could never do your job. as much respect and admiration as I have for both of you, and everybody that does the same work that you do, I absolutely could never do it after seeing what you guys end up going through in there. But if I wanted to apply tomorrow, like, what kind of, like, are there certifications that somebody would have to go through to be a communication specialist, or like, is it mostly on the job training and then you go through the certifications afterwards? Like, how does that process all work for somebody to be a communication specialist, especially in the air medical environment?
I think it depends on the program that you work for.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the company that I work for, I have no certifications, none. I walked in out in the door. It was on the job training. Like Toya said, it's practice over and over and over and over again. But there are some programs that they require that their communicator is an EMT or has a degree in some medical field. So I think it all depends on the program that you work for.
Sure.
And their requirements. And then afterwards, after I got hired, I have the certified communication specialist certificate through IAMTCS.
Okay.
So I'm a certified communicator.
Okay.
Which I'm not sure if that holds any weight anywhere. I think it's just to say that I've taken the initiative and I've done the extra training.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I don't know that if I were to apply at UI, it would be like, oh, look. Does that make sense?
Fair enough. But I think it's, awesome that, you can find somebody that, one, is a good communicator, two, has all of those personal skills to be able to do it and really mold them into the role that you guys are in. And, when you think about medical trained versus not medical trained, and just kind of, I could see pros and cons in both situations, but do you feel like it helps you, Charisma, not having necessarily that medical background to be able to focus solely on the dispatch process and being able to get your folks out the door?
Absolutely. We have communicators who were going through nursing school, and so they are trying to triage calls. That's not my job.
Right.
My job is not to triage that call.
Yeah.
So whatever the requester says to me, especially coming out of a hospital, you can rattle off all this stuff, and I'm just a parrot. I'm just going to tell you. I don't make any judgment calls. I don't know what half these things mean. Well, now I do, but at the time I did not.
Sure.
But some communicators try to triage, and it's like, that's not your job. Your job is not to triage these calls. Your job is to offer it to your pilot. If they accept, just give your med crew that medical, and they triage once they get there or what have you. Right. So I think me having zero medical background was very much a plus for my job.
Well, it's interesting when you were talking about when you were looking for that and that job came up, and you're like, well, I didn't have any medical background. But I do have to ask, I assume you have to be able to type so many words per minute. Is there a minimum requirement for like words per minute you can type?
There is. I mean, you don't want to be a hunt and peck when you're in a call that you need to get a scene call out, and it's like, give me about 10 minutes, I'll get that stuff done to you. But you can get.
Yeah, we get a little impatient as med crews when that happens.
Exactly. But I don't know. I think for ours it's I believe it's between 60 and 80.
Oh God, I'm out.
So
I think so too.
Unless you include backspace, because I'm trying to correct it so
Backspace?
much when I type, then I'm out. There's no way.
And it works so much better if your keys are if your fingers are in the right position. I'm over there typing away last night, and everything was shifted one key to the right. Oh no! I looked at what I had, and you gotta be kidding.
you were typing a
was
different
bad.
language.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I couldn't do it. I'm too ADD. I can't when I type. It's rough. That's why I don't do it. That's why I can't.
And
Well-
Toya, back when we were talking about PIP drills, years ago, I was a fresh, brand new comm spec. Maybe a year. And Mike, you'll recognize names. So I got a flight request from a gentleman who's been a long time Rysick. Mr. Rysick
Oh,
called
yes.
me.
Oh, yes, Joe.
And he's like, hey, I got a NICU flight and blah, blah, blah. And I'm asking questions and he can't answer my questions. And I have little bells going off, but I'm still doing my job.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
tone out this aircraft and off they go. And at the time I had cameras at these bases and I was tracking on them. I'm calling on the radio and it was a drill. They've lifted. They went to the end of the runway, camera range, and they landed. And they were like, Charisma, we heard you on the radio and we could hear the tears in your voice. And we're like, we just wanted to answer you.
Wow.
But we couldn't. And I was so mad. I was so happy they were relieved. But
Right.
that whole, your heart drops. And
Yes.
every time you talk, the desperation just gets worse in your voice. And they're like, Charisma, it was bad to listen to you. And I'm like, well, it should have been.
Do that again.
You're right.
I'm glad you were able to yell at them afterwards and scold them for what they
Yeah,
did.
but I understand the reason for doing it. And I had earlier this year, I had another one. They did it while they were en route back to base. And I'm like, wait, what are they doing? Because they're like landed at an LZ that they shouldn't have been. It was also another drill. And afterwards, they called me from the base and I got all three of them on the phone and telling me how sorry they were and how much they loved me. And I'm like, I love you guys all too. But
you
can
got a
we
funny
stop?
way of showing it.
Right.
But can we stop? So I get it. They're super
Yes.
important.
I think that really ties in the whole aspect of, you guys build that relationship with your crews,
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
You really you hear our voices, and if you're lucky, you get to see the camera and see us out there. But it really shows that you guys are such an integral part of this process. And then now you have a vetted interest in the crews that you're sending out, and when you talk about those drills, that God forbid the one time that there is an incident, you guys are just as much part of a vetted interest and caring about the well-being of the people that you're sending out. When you talk about, you do these drills, do you guys have other ways? Do you keep in contact with some of your crews that you speak to on a regular basis, or is there more of a personal connection that you have, or is it just strictly business?
I do have a relationship with a lot of the crews outside of work. So we'll meet up. Some of us will hang out together. We've gone to events together, some of our conferences, and then we'll go out and hang out on the town while we're in conferences and stuff. And those are fun because then you get that personal side of it, and and you're more invested. It's like I've got your back, and when you're on the radio, they've got that familiar voice, and it's like I don't have to worry about that today because she's working. I know she's vested. She's gonna watch my back, and so it's nice to see the personal side of it. When you're not just a voice. Oh, they're working today. Where you don't have that connection. But it is a great relationship that you have. You try to keep it tucked in your pocket sometimes, not so personal, because you don't want to affect your work, but
Right.
outside of work, it is fun, your family. I mean, you're not just going to work 12 hours a day and come home and separate yourself. You guys just we're really at work more than we're home. Unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah,
With
for
what
sure.
we do, you can't
For sure.
That's
go to
such a
work
common
and-
denominator for all of us.
yeah, you
Yeah.
just can't just go to work and just not have a relationship. It just evolves that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's cool that you're somewhat local to your crew, so you guys can see each other outside of work and be
Yeah.
able to interact. Or like, hey, if they fly into where I don't know if you're based at a hospital or whatnot, but like for our team, like we'll fly into the hospital and we're able to walk in and visit with our comm specs and really kind of build some of that relationship and have that face to face time and get to know each other as teammates more than just over the radio. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
We're not as lucky. Ours are all at airports.
Okay, you're all at airports there.
Yeah, so when they fly into hospitals, we're totally off-site, so it's all outside of work. They can't come to us. We don't
Yeah.
have a spot for them to go, so
But you're still able to have a lot of that FaceTime and be
Yes.
able to communicate.
very much so.
Outside of the always having to be professional on the radio. But I was curious,
Exactly.
Charisma, from your perspective, like how are you able to build the relationship with your crews, being as though that most of your crews are states away? It's not like you guys can just meet up on the weekend and be able to get together for a drink.
That is true. And like you mentioned earlier in our chat, you spoke to me for a long time.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of pilots and crews that have been with me since I started. I just had one that retired, and we were discussing it how he remembered when I started as this tiny little baby comm spec and the monster that I've grown into, and he just laughed and he's like, absolutely. I believe that it's just consistency and familiarity, and my performance doesn't change.
Right.
They all know what to expect from me.
Sure.
They have learned, I hope, that throughout the years, I've learned to anticipate things. Like when they go to Ruby in Morgantown, West Virginia, after we do radio traffic, my first question is, do you guys need fuel? So I take care of all that before they get there. They know they don't have to worry about stuff like that.
Yeah.
If they ask me for something, it's done. I have a relationship with a flight crew's with a medic's wife. I've never met this woman, but her and I, we text back and forth. I had the honor a couple summers ago. I have family in Delaware. I spent a weekend with my family, and I got a rental car, and I visited 6 of my 8 bases.
Wow. That's
Nice.
awesome.
And I met a lot of people. I have so many pictures, and I have heard from more than once. I get text messages on my nights off. Where are you? Why aren't you working? What's going on? Wait, I'm allowed a night off.
Yeah. Work every
How
night.
dare you take a day off?
Yeah. And I think it's just my performance and me being consistent and having talking to the same pilots and same crews. And I have a story, and we had a base that's only been open a few years. And so, the pilots were new and the mid crews were all new. And this one pilot, he's like chewing me out for something. And I just let him ramble. I don't take any of that personally. I get it. You're frustrated. You're mad. Yell at me. I'll take it. And he took a breath, and I said, hey, so-and-so, you don't need to like me, and I'm okay with that. I need you to trust me. And it stopped him right in his tracks. He was done.
Yeah.
And then a couple weeks later, I'm doing shift change. Night pilot walks in, and he goes, oh, hey, Charisma. Me and so-and-so, this other pilot, we're just talking about you. And I'm like, oh, crap.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I'm like, what did he do? And he goes, him and I agreed that when the shit hits the fan, you're the one we want on the desk. And I was just, oh, big warm fuzzies. And then he goes, well, you're usually the one that starts it.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you. So,
I mean, but is it
but yeah,
wrong?
I think it's just consistency in what I do and familiarity.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing how you can build that relationship over the phone or over the radio, like
Yeah.
it's one of those, like, we get comfort, knowing who's on the other side of that radio and knowing that you got our backs. And it's that, consistency in hearing the same voices every time we come to work, that we know how you work, how we work. And like, it really just, the relationship just flows.
Right. Yeah. And I know which med crews want what information at what time.
Yeah.
And I know which aircraft give me a 10-minute update to their drop off. I know this.
Right.
I know these things.
That's awesome. I know it's comforting when we have that working relationship. And like you said, if, for a while at our base, we didn't have fuel. We always had to call after hours fuel before we had our own, fuel bowser. And so for the longest time, we would get back and then there's the fuel truck already called and waiting. We just had that such good relationship with our comm specs. They knew after 11 PM, they had to call for after hours. We would get back. It was already waiting. And it just was so comforting that like you come back 2-3 in the morning, you're just exhausted and you're like, oh, totally forgot. And you're like, oh, just kidding. It's already there. Our dispatcher's awesome.
I was going to say, like, you guys know how ADD we are as crews. So you keep us in check by making sure we have all the things we need.
Yeah. I as well. I'm like, if I don't make sure that they have what they need before they ask, that's how driven I am, is I want to make sure that they don't have to ask for anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want the flight crews to only worry about that patient care.
Absolutely.
And that pilot only needs to worry about, and that pilot only needs to worry about flying that aircraft. They don't need to worry about ground. They don't need to worry about acceptance. They don't need to worry about fuel. They don't need to worry about an escort. I want them to just take care of that patient and have that pilot get everybody safely where they need to be.
Charisma, do you want to work this Southeast region? Do you want to dispatch for it?
You should probably talk to Mike a little more. I am queen of the 2 a.m. tone outs, and they're never fun.
Blake loves the 2 a.m. tone outs. Those are his favorite.
The disregard tones. Sorry.
Yeah, don't do that.
No. Only if someone gets a little lippy, you're like, sorry, wrong base.
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
And that's funny. Sometimes you get an awful lot of, and Toya, this, you get an awful lot of attitude on the other side of the radio.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just want to be like, I didn't do this.
Right.
I'm just sharing information with you.
It isn't your fault.
I understand that this is your third back-to-back flight and you're tired and you're cranky and you're hungry and you probably need to pee, but I'm not the one who said, hold my beer.
Yeah, right. I have only gone to the bathroom once today too. I get it.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, we are so incredibly busy. A potty break? I don't even know what that is.
Right?
I'll be lucky if I'll get there. But yeah, and like I said, those crews, they have no idea how pissed off I am. I have heard communicators get all lippy back on the radio, and I'm like, just stop.
Yeah.
They have a skill that you don't have, and I get it that you're frustrated, but your happy hiney is planted firmly on the ground. Theirs is not. Stop. But you can't say stuff like that.
That goes both ways though, because there are some very cranky crews out there, and like, sometimes they probably need a little lip here and there. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Let's be real. We know that we can be prima donna sometimes, and we know that we, are not exactly the easiest to deal with. And, we like our cake and to eat it too. And when that doesn't happen, like, we get upset, and I, my crews know that I need, bathroom breaks, fed and watered on a very regular basis. And that
I wore a flight suit. There's pockets. Put snacks in your pockets.
They will just get smushed or crushed. And then that's just going to piss me off even more.
You can hold a lot of snacks in the flight suit, just saying.
And I've had, I was on break. And a pilot called in, and he talked to my partner, and he told my partner, he said, hey, have Charisma call me on her cell, because I don't want this phone call recorded. And so I'm just like, oh man,
what did I do?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. And so I went out the hallway and I called him, and I'm like, hey, I got your message. What's up? And he apologized to me for the attitude his med crew gave me on the radio. I said, you don't have to apologize to me for that.
they need to call and apologize for that then.
I thought that was just the sweetest thing. And I told him, I said, you know what? I get it. I'm safe and sound here on the ground. You guys are not. You're hot, tired, cranky, whatever. You may have had a bad call. I'm okay. But he's like, I just wanted to apologize. I said, that was super sweet of you.
That was, I still think we, as crews, we should understand that, because we get it at our, depending on where I'm sure this is globally. I'm sure it's not just exclusive to anywhere, but, you get the run of the mill. You get the same old, the routine transport, and you end up at a hospital and they're like, why did you come here? And, like, rah. I'm like, I don't know, the hospital sign. Not sure, but, like we understand when we should really understand that you guys are also not, just running down the street, knocking on someone's door at 2 a.m. They're like, hey, what do you got going on for the next 6 hours?
Well, I'm not so sure with one of my dispatchers. He absolutely loves to send us out at 6 o'clock.
I have that reputation too.
I feel like I can hear the elation in his voice every time he gets to send us out the door.
He's like, 2 a.m.
And it seems like every day he gets to calls around to the hospitals at the end of the shift. And are you sure you guys don't need anybody transported right now?
Oh,
that's what it feels like. And we bug him about that all the time. So I'm sure if he's listening to this, he'll know exactly what we're talking about. But yeah, we have that relationship that I know that he's not doing that, and we're all on the same team here, and we need to be able to break down those barriers of communication. But
yeah, you guys are not doing it purposely, unless
Sure.
you know the time frame that it takes for us to get out of the aircraft, go inside, take off your boots, and just sit down and then tone us back out. That one I would question just a little bit, maybe. But but no, I think we all get frustrated. And I'll tell you, my heartburn, I don't ever, I'm not going to say I've never taken it out on you guys. I absolutely have definitely been grumpy, 100%. But I think for us, it's knowing on the other end, like we know once we're toned out, it's like, okay, here's the next 4 or 5 hours, of your night is taken up. But you know what? That's what we do. That's what we signed up for. There's days.
It's what you signed up for.
Exactly. There's days you get a gift, you didn't turn a blade, and luckily nobody needed you. That's a good day.
Yeah.
But then the days that you are getting it back to back, but in the grand scheme of things, we're all there. We're all those links, and you guys are just there, and you guys have our backs. And so I will always try to make sure that I remember that it's nothing personal. I guarantee you it's not. Well, for the most part, except for your guy, Mike.
Oh, good. But speaking of calls coming in for service, let's say, you guys end up getting a call right now. I guess, one of the things that I don't necessarily understand about your job is the process that you have to go through to get to the point where you can send us out the door. I was wondering if you guys can kind of compare and contrast maybe if it's different between, a smaller agency, Toya, like you work for, versus a larger agency, Carissima, as to how you're able to, what's your process for going through gathering the necessary information and being able to dispatch that helicopter at the door?
For us, we are hospital based, so we are the second line of information coming in. So we are not the 911 center. We get those calls from the 911 center, or we will get them from an outside hospital coming in. So when we get either of those calls, we have a flow sheet that we have to fill out, almost like a chart, if you will, with all the pertinent information that we need for you guys to be able to do your job.
Sure.
All the medical equipment, if we have to do a balloon pump, or if there's blood that's needed, or, how many channels do we need? Do they need to take extra channels for, the patients for IV? If there's going to be a balloon pump, we're going to have extra stuff. If we do a NICU, are we going to have to do a warming? So there are items that we need specifically to differentiate between if it's going to be an adult peds team versus a neo peds team for us.
Sure.
Or if it's a 911 scene call. So there's a lot of different avenues.
Okay. So you guys have that report sheet that you're able to kind of get your information and then send us out the door. Is that different at all on your side, Carissima, as far as how you go through your process? And I think, I'm even looking at getting coordinates, right? Like you guys end up getting a scene call and you're like, yeah, they're at the intersection of Timber Lane and, and Smith Road. It's like, Okay, great. So now you need to like figure out what the coordinates are, because it's probably the GPS coordinates that are maybe coming up in regular GPS terms are not what they need to put into the helicopter in order to get out the like I think that is the part that like baffles me. It's like, how do you like figure all this out behind the scenes and give us exactly what we need?
Google Maps is my friend.
Okay.
I can put in any address, any set of cross streets, any place. If you tell me that the LZ or the accident's at First Trinity Church in Greensboro, North Carolina, I can throw that into Google Maps and I get an address and coordinates and I can see it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then I throw that into my flight vector map and I can send it and build your ticket, your flight ticket, which you don't see, but it's what you guys chart on.
Right.
But yeah, we also have, we call that an intake sheet. For a scene call, I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 pieces of information that I gather, and then I'm toning out an aircraft.
So this is a pretty like
It's pretty fast.
It is pretty fast. We used to have a time standard that we had to, our goal from the time we answered the phone to the time we toned out an aircraft was 108 seconds.
Wow.
I
That's
was
moving.
consistently sitting, well, we've changed the intake process over the years. Do you guys remember when we would, Blake, you probably remember, when we would tone you out in the middle of an intake? So,
And it would just be like a heading and a distance.
Right. It was a scene request, Greensboro, North Carolina, you're heading in distances, blah, 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 by blah, 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 depending on your weather. So from the time I answered the phone to the time I was saying that on the radio, it was consistently 60 seconds.
Wow.
But I also had the requester on the line too. I'm like, hey, can you hang tight for me 1 second while I let the aircraft know we got a flight? They can start checking weather. And while the pilot was checking weather, I was still getting information.
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, well, Toya, I'm going to call you back. No,
Right.
I'm still talking to you and I'm still getting information. And for inter-hospitals, that's the same thing. We have a whole bunch of questions we ask. We ask the safety question. That's a big thing. Toya, I imagine you guys have a version of it too.
Yes.
For safety purposes, has it been offered to any other flight service?
Right.
Anybody
because
else
we-
responding?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Is there anybody else inbound to this location?
Yep.
Via air. I always say via air because they want to be, well, we got Lifestar coming in. That's a ground chart. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
Give me what I need to
conflict
know
there.
right now.
Yeah.
Right. And we ask about special equipment, which was, LVAD balloon pump, BiPAP, anything
Right.
out of the ordinary, not an event. Event's not a piece of special equipment, but you'd be surprised how many people think it is.
Or you have oxygen and they don't even tell you, and it's like, yeah, they're on high flow. Any equipment? Nope, nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Heated
Yeah.
high flow at what, 12 liters and
Right, yeah,
85%. And like, why did you not tell me this part? Because my medic head just exploded.
We would never, I promise. I wish I could say that with a straight face.
I know. And that's not your fault. That's the people that you're getting the information from, because maybe to them
Right.
it's regular every day for them. Like, oh no, it's not special.
But you really have to have like a guided process, right? Like you have to almost like the phone rings, you have to take control of that conversation and be like, okay, you want a flight? Great. This is what I need. Boom, 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 boom. And knock it out that way.
Yeah, you have to ask
Absolutely.
the questions. If they sit there and stray, and they'll go down that little rabbit hole of and then they look around like, what else do I need? So you really start to process yourself, and it's like, this is, do you need this and do you need that? You kind of drive the conversation, just to
Right.
make it flow, because otherwise they're going to be bouncing all around. And
They're giving you a full hospital report before
Yeah.
you know it.
exactly.
Right. And I let them know, I'm like, you know what? And my med crew will take that full report at bedside if they accept the flight right now. This is what I need.
Awesome.
Exactly.
And I just kind of steer them back in. And Toya, I'm sure you get that situations as well where you call a unit back because they have called you or whatever, and whoever answers the phone, you start asking questions and they're like, I don't know, let me ask so-and-so. I don't know, let me ask so-and-so.
Yeah.
So you're
That's
you're
why I
like,
always ask for
okay.
charge. I don't
Whisper
have
down
to
the
beat around
alley
the
for all
bush.
the stuff. Because we are always like, none of what's happening when we get to the bedside is like anything like what we were told going like to the call.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you guys are only able to pass along the information, but it's like it's whispered down the alley on their end of the phone for you guys to even get the information. So by the
Right.
time we get there, like things are like totally different sometimes. And it makes me chuckle some days. I'm like, who I'm like, who was telling our comm specs that X, Y, and Z was going on? Because this is
Were they listening to
nothing
the
of what's
same call?
occurring. Exactly.
Right. Right. And those are my favorite debriefs. Charisma, that is what you told us is not what we got. Sorry.
That's what I heard.
Or they show up and it's like, oh, we have a different critical patient, a more critical patient we want you to take. And now all of a sudden it's a flurry of phone calls to me. Hey, Charisma, we're taking this patient instead. And I'm like, okay. You need another helicopter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but we've already lifted and landed and we're in the middle of a run with this John Doe and you're going to give me somebody else. I can't switch that off.
Right.
Oh, see, we can.
Can you?
Yeah, we do that. And then the next question is, do you need a second helicopter? And then I'm trying to figure out the logistics of that hospital's helipad.
Yeah, right.
A single pad. And now I want to put a second helicopter on that.
Yeah.
No.
And now we're going to be playing leapfrog with helicopters. One's landing, the other one's taking off, and
Right.
vice versa
Done
again.
that
Take a
too.
cruise and then back and
Yep.
forth again.
Absolutely.
Happens all the time.
And it's easier when they're your aircraft as
Yeah.
opposed to,
Yeah.
so
Someone
you're
else's.
with UI, right? Or IU?
IU, yes.
IU. So when it's your aircraft and then an Air Methods Kentucky coming in, you have radio comms with one aircraft, not both of them.
Yeah.
Correct.
So then you're calling me saying, hey,
But we do have, as
Right,
long as they
coordinate.
have, we've got what we call like iHearn or Flight Watch. So we have our own channel and then we have a statewide channel. So if that agency, if they're fairly close to our state, they should have our secondary radio service that
Oh, okay.
we can communicate back and forth. So, but some of them don't have, depending on how deep they are into their state, they may not have our radio traffic. So we would have to go to their communication center. So,
Sure.
and then there's others that just don't talk to you.
well, yeah. Oh, that's horrible. You've got to, the aircraft reaches out to you before the comm center does.
Yeah, done that too.
Yep, I have that. So we monitor a pad and I get radio traffic. Hey, Aircom, this is so-and-so. We're 2 minutes out from this pad with a patient from so-and-so. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what? And then the phone's ringing with their
Surprise.
comm center. Like, a little late.
Gosh.
1 second, please.
Yeah. I need you to hover.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
And I feel like, that obviously creates a safety concern sometimes, especially when you're not getting any of the notifications or, what if somebody's having an emergency and you need to be able to talk with them? Like there's a lot of like other these factors that go into it. Right. And so when we talk about like, having those constant communications with your crews, if one of them does happen to be having like an emergency in flight, and because we spent a lot of time kind of talking about the PIP or PIPs before, what is your role in that situation, and how does that role that you have or the responsibilities that you have change in that moment for you guys to be able to solely focus on your crew that needs your assistance at that time?
Yeah, I'm super curious how your comm center does that. Do you guys work in pairs or is it just a single communicator?
We do work in pairs, but in my scenario, I've been working solo for a couple of years now. So I have we're not that far away from each other. So if I've got another partner that is doing another radio, which is off, not critical care. So if I need help, I do have the ability to say, hey, can you help me with whatever's? And then, especially like a PIP, if the crew is having an in-flight emergency, we will solely, I will take that role, and that's all I'm doing is their medical emergency. And then I will shift the rest of the load that I have out to that other person. And then they'll just have to trickle down to whatever that person was doing to somebody else. So it's like a domino effect, but I'll strictly stay with them until that emergency is over. So, but I'll do it not really by myself, but you're solo, but you've got support. You've got managers that are in there. You've got supervisors. So someone will always dive in and what do you need? And just making sure that if no one's going to bother you, you're going to be in the moment with them, talking to them if they need, constant communication and what do you need. So you're just focusing basically on them. The rest of your, like I said, the crews that you got out, other 3 or 4 or 5 aircrafts that you got, you offload those. So you don't have to not really mess with them, but you don't have to focus on them. You can stay with what you're doing. So.
Yeah, I'm always super curious about these smaller comm centers because, Air Methods is huge. Right. And in my bank alone, we've got 6 communicators. So if anything happens, my partner immediately takes everything off my desk except for what my emergency is. And I've got supervisor right there and been delegating. And so I was super curious about how that worked in a smaller company.
We have 5 of us that would be on the radio.
Good.
We've got a 911 that we dispatch through, so that person's doing that. We've got another one that's doing our ALS and BLS communications that they'll strictly do their radios, and then we'll have a backup person to that one, and then we would have a backup for myself.
So either way, you guys have that system to cover each other and be able to focus your entire workload on that emergency.
Yeah.
So that's nice, everybody being cross-trained to be able to have that overlap then.
Yeah.
So Carissima, if because I know obviously working for Air Methods, there's an OCC, an Operational Control Center.
Yeah, in Colorado.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit how your role kind of integrates between giving info to the flight crews and then giving info back either to OCC or they communicate with you? Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on how your role's involved with OCC?
Thanks to our sponsor, Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, save lives, and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
OCC is pretty much hands-off.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, we implemented a program. It's called Complete Flight. And so anytime I build a flight and I assign it, I have to import it to this other program, and it goes direct to OCC.
Oh, cool.
I don't have to call OCC anymore, except for when I offer a flight in air and it's accepted, because now I have to call them and be like, hey, so November 811 Lima Victor just accepted a flight in air. And they give me, and they look at the ticket I submitted and they tell me, okay, he's either good or he's not good. You tell him as soon as he lands to call, and you never want to hear that.
Right.
As bad as the FAA, or excuse me, the air traffic controller saying, hey, give me a call when you're on the ground.
Right. Yeah. I got a number for you to call.
Or if we have a PIP, we can do that just through this program. I don't have to, this sounds bad, waste my valuable time calling OCC. Right. I can be on the phone with ground and I can be typing up into this system, hey, so 811 Lima Victor had to do an emergency landing due to patient condition.
Sure.
So that part is nice. And
That's
sometimes good. OCC will call the comm room and they're like, hey, I need to talk to the communicator who's got 811 Lima Victor. I'm so picking on Medevac line.
I'll make sure to reach out to all of them and tell them to listen to this episode.
And, your heart just kind of drops and you're like, hey, that's me. What's going on? And then they're like, have the pilot call, blah, 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 whatever. But for the most part, OCC, they're in Colorado and they're pretty hands off. Unless,
so the process is really streamlined then at this point, and as far as minimizing the amount of extra workload you guys have to do.
Yeah.
Well, I know that Carissima, especially with Air Methods, there's so much training and constant recurrent training going over these PAIPs. We had an incident about a week or so ago. Everybody was fine. Everybody did exactly what they were supposed to do. And everything went really well. And having the debriefs and having everybody coming back on and follow-ups, it really showed the communication. Everybody did exactly like you said, your professionalism, your training, everything just kicks in. Everybody did what they needed to do. And everybody was able to handle it safely and move forward. And I think it's just a true testament to how you guys are staying calm on the other side of the radio.
Absolutely.
Allows us to stay calm and handle what we have to handle. And then once on the ground, everybody's good. Everything got handled from there. And I think it's so great to see that you guys really have such a huge impact on not only getting the patients, but getting us where we need to go and having our backs. And I think that's just such a true testament to the companies that you work for, whether it be, a large corporation or a small, a small comm center. Everybody has a good job to do, and everybody does it really well. And that's so important to see how you guys are able to just maintain that.
It's an honor and a privilege.
It is.
To be able to watch you while you're up there in the air doing the spectacular things that you do.
Because we on the same hand, or we look at you guys and we're like, they're so brilliant at what they do, and to have that expertise, and it's like, geez.
We do not deserve that credit. I promise you.
No, you really do.
No.
But that's really what it comes down to, is the respect that we have for each other in this job, right? We're all trying to do the same mission and accomplish the same things, and having the respect on both sides of the radio is really the utmost importance. I mean, we're all trying to make a difference in somebody's life, and
very much.
And we can't do that unless we're all working together. So that's the bottom line.
Absolutely. No matter what kind of day I'm having or how mad I might be because of whatever snafu went on with the patient report, whatever, my priority is the safety of everybody in that helicopter.
And I think, we've kind of talked a lot about in the call itself and things that are happening there. But we haven't really discussed like the before and afterwards, right? Like, aside of the fact that we recognize that a lot of the things that you guys are hearing on the radio or the intake calls that you're getting, that either if you're not going WTF, you're also feeling it on the emotional side of things, like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. And so are you guys finding that you are part of that debriefing process with your crews on a regular basis? And then in conjunction with that, are you seeing, or are you utilizing any kind of risk assessment tool for you and your communications team when you're starting a shift? And is that in conjunction with your flight crews?
For us, we don't have a ton of debriefings, only if we have those, like you said before, those WTFs that are big, then we have debriefs. But those kind of standard calls, I know the crews do after every run, but we're not a part of that unless something is significant that impacts us. Do we get those debriefings? So ours is a little bit different. And maybe it shouldn't be different. Maybe we should be doing more, but in our area, we don't do a lot of debriefing after each call.
And I agree. Every time that an aircraft lands at base, I take their land call and I welcome them home. And I always ask them if they have any issues that they want to discuss with me. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, nope, Aircom, we're good. Mm-hmm. But occasionally I get we'll landline you. And then I'm just like, oh.
He's like, uh-oh.
But I appreciate the landline not airing my dirty laundry on the radio.
Yeah, right. Fair enough.
Well, yeah. I know that for us, we get a debrief after every flight that we fill out.
Yeah.
And it gives us, were there any communication issues, and if there is, then it gets sent to, probably a supervisor at Aircom. But I found most of the time it has nothing to do with you guys. It's usually the other side of the communication issue. It's not anything to do with you, what Aircom is doing specifically. Most of the time it's either the sending or the receiving, and they either haven't communicated something or, they gave us something incorrect. And I think it's great that I almost never, have, anything that I have to really put in there unless there, is something. But we normally will try to just give you guys a call, like you said, landline, and just we'll tell you about it. So that way it's nothing that has to go any further, because we can handle it strictly between peer to peer, usually.
Right.
But I've always just been curious how you guys are, like Mike was saying, do you guys get to risk assessments to where you've been on the radio for 6 hours straight, and do you get to take that brief time out, and, do you get to take those timeouts to talk to your crews afterwards? So we were just really curious on what that looks like for you guys.
think I have to agree with Toya. Your standard flights, we don't usually do a debrief. If there's something major that happened that everybody needs to discuss, then absolutely a time is set up, or they'll call and then you get a supervisor involved, be like, hey, I need you to sit at the desk, or I need my partner to help me out because so-and-so's calling and they want to debrief on this.
Yeah.
And then the risk assessment part, we do one for the comm room as a whole.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
And it's more an evaluation of, factors of like the weather, how many aircraft are in service, tenure on you've got on the floor, how many days in a row have people worked.
Yeah.
It's a whole comm room safety eval, I guess, that they do a couple times, at least 4 times a day.
Oh.
So
I think that's
awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think, we don't take that into account sometimes. Like we just are kind of expecting, oh, well, you're showing up to work, you're good to go. But like, there's so many factors that go into like a shift running smoothly, safely, and, being a well-oiled machine. And like, to know what your risk is, like, okay, great. That means the supervisor might need to provide a little bit more help over in this area today, or that, hey, we got to watch each other back. Like, maybe Carissima, you're not feeling the best today, and Toya's got to cover for you a little bit more, those kind of things. Like, to have those personal factors along with the operational factors included in there to do a risk assessment so you guys know where you stand. Like, I think that's a phenomenal thing.
I'm hoping that that's something other places continue to do, because just like, Mike said, we as med crew, you're on for a 24-hour shift, and so we start to fill out, we start to feel that fatigue. I can only imagine that you guys are as well. And I don't know if where you guys are located, if you have like windows so you can see the outside world, or you're like in a dungeon. I think we all picture that, like that dark, cold dungeon. There's nothing, outside, and you're like, here's your computer screens, here's your keyboard, here's your mic,
Yeah.
Or our places, do you have that sense of realism where you can see what's going on? And I could only imagine that, like, taking these phone calls and hearing these requests and, like Mike said, the weather, things like that, like, I would only hope that that's something that your well-being is just as important as any of ours, to hear that radio call and be able to handle that. And so my hope is that that's something that continues to gain traction for all our comm specs.
Well, just like the pilots, I think we as the controllers can take ownership in a sense that you've got to know your own limitations. And when you know that you've sat there for 6 hours and you've not sat in, or you've not stood up to walk away for a mental break, you've got to be able to speak up and say, hey, can you cover my radios for like 20 minutes or so, or 10 minutes, and let me go let me go walk around the building or walk outside and get some fresh air, just to take that mental break. So I know that's what we do in our areas. We're freely to, when time permits, obviously, but you can't go in the knee deep of stuff. But when you're starting to, wind down on a run and it's just doing its standard thing, and you can walk away and just have somebody cover for you so you can get that downtime, if you will, or go grab a walk away and go take a quick lunch, and knowing that it's going to be covered, just so you can rejuvenate yourself and, go for the back half of your shift. So you just got to be open and honest with yourself, and not be so, I've got to sit here for 12 hours and I'm not going to go to the bathroom, and I'm not going to go, go take care of myself with the meal. And so you got to watch out for yourself, because you'll get a lot of burnout. So if you don't,
Sure.
Otherwise you definitely got to keep track of yourself. And you can see that even with your coworkers, when you work so closely with them, and you're going to see that, dude, go take a break. You've been working hard for a while. I got you, and
Go eat a Snickers. You're not yourself when you don't eat.
Right? Absolutely. And, and we do 15-minute breaks every 2 hours, call volume permitting, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
And for a while, we had problems with communicators. They would take their break, but they didn't walk away from their desk. And we're like, you got to walk away.
Yeah.
Because you sitting here in the middle of the comm room listening to everything and still watching the phone ring and listening to the radios, and just
it's not
walk
a break.
away.
Yeah.
Not a break is right.
You need that time to decompress and really, reframe your mind before you come back into it.
Right.
You know, go sit in the bathroom and cry for 15 minutes, whatever. Just walk away.
I mean, I do that every shift. So
Well, this has been actually a great conversation, and I really appreciate both of you coming on. I wanted to ask one last question, though, and maybe this is maybe the most important one, maybe the entire podcast, but for us med crews and pilots and everything out there, what is one thing that each of you think is maybe misunderstood about your job or your role that you would really like to share with us?
I honestly don't think that the pilots and flight crews realize, one, how much I do and how many of you I watch.
I agree
You're
with that.
always watching.
You know?
Yeah.
I love every one of you. And I would do everything I can to keep you safe. But you're not my only aircraft in the air right now. If I tell you to stand by one on the radio, there's a reason.
Yeah.
You know, unless you are coming back to me saying that horrible word I don't ever want to hear,
right.
hold your horses. You know, I'm in the middle of other radio traffic or something. So please don't. If I tell you to stand by one, just don't blurt it out at me anyway, because I'm going to miss it.
Not knowing that you're not the only one that's out there on the road or air. You know, I have to change channels from air to ground. It's not a matter of them all coming in my ear. So we have to flip back and forth. So because I didn't answer you didn't mean that I don't hear you. I will get back with you within seconds. It's just don't hit me up in a mean tone because I didn't respond back. So
right. And don't call out to me in the blind. Don't say aircom, this is so-and-so. You know what? You need to give me 2 seconds. Yeah, you need to give me 2 seconds to reset my brain from what I was doing to be ready to receive what you're trying to tell me on this crappy radio.
Yeah.
You know? And Toya, I'm sure that in your organization has a priority list. We do. Our utmost priority sitting at the desk is that radio. Absolutely.
Yes. And I will have air over ground as a priority as well, unless there was an accident with the ground crew.
Right.
They are.
Or they're on fire. I'm sure
Or
that's.
they're on fire. Yeah. Exactly. But no, we will answer air first over ground.
And absolutely. And if I have an aircraft and they reach out to me and I come back and tell them to stand by one, it's not because I'm on the phone. It's not because I'm BSing with my partner. It's because I'm already talking to somebody on the radio. So
absolutely,
I need you to chill. I'm not telling you to wait because I'm doing other influential things. I'm already talking to somebody in the air. So just hold your horses.
But I'm important. You need to know that I lifted off.
You're all important, but hey.
You need to know, and you need to know my release number. You must know that, and I want you to know it right now.
Yeah.
It's so important.
So when we started that release number, I call it the magic number to kind of break it up a little bit, just to make it funny.
Absolutely.
And I have pilots and med crews that come back with me. They're like, hey, we lifted 3 souls, 2 hours of fuel, and our magic number is. And I just think that's super cool that I have gotten
that's cool.
crews on board with that.
I am 1,000% going to say magic number now.
And Blake, all of your comm specs can know exactly where it came from.
They're gonna look right over at Carissima.
Absolutely, because a couple of the comm night girls on Southeast, they've heard me say it too. They'll know where it came from.
I love it.
That's funny.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation. I very much enjoyed being able to speak with both of you and get to learn a little bit more about what's happening on the other side of the radio. I feel as though while I do have a good working relationship with all of my comm specs at the program that I work at now and the program before getting to talk to you on a regular basis, Carissima, I thought that we always had good relationships, but I don't really feel like I understood a little bit more about the job and some of the stressors that you guys are under and how you do what you do every single day. So thank you so much for coming on and joining us today.
We appreciate the invitation as well and being able to share what we do.
Thank you so very much for listening and letting us, well, me just ramble on. Thank you.
We're talkers.
It's really a pleasure, honestly, to just hear your side. You know, one of my partners has always called dispatch the faceless voice from the box that comes out, you know, and I just have such a found respect for you guys. And just over the years, you know, even when I first started, but just hearing what you have to go through on the radio. And then, like you said, when you're dispatching air medical and you're taking in more info and just talking to multiple aircraft and taking different calls, I've just learned and have so much more respect for I will 1,000% stand by when you tell me to stand by.
Thank you.
We'll sit there. I will wait. And you
Spread
will
that
let me know.
around, okay?
Right.
But I don't. But
For
thank
sure.
you. I really learned so much, and it's been such an awesome discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, ladies, again. It's been absolutely awesome. If you'd like to find out a little bit more about some of the roles that are involved with being a ComSpec, just reach out to us here at the podcast. Remember to like and subscribe and join us on the next one. Thank you again to all of our listeners out there for your continued support of the Vertical Helicast platform and the Valor Flight Crew podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Valor Flight Crew podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more stories that promote the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Lastly, stand by for a message from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsor, Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, save lives, and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
When every second counts, trust Night Flight Concepts to keep you mission ready. With advanced night vision technology, FAA certified repair services, and expert training, we've got your six. Visit nightflightconcepts.com to learn more.
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Valor Flight Crew podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from Carissima Collins and Toya Jones and gained a deeper appreciation for the role our communication specialists play in EMS and air medical transport. With so many moving parts to each mission, this episode highlights the importance of clear, safe, and effective communication and how this helps deliver excellent patient care to those who need us. To all our listeners, thanks for joining us for this conversation and your continued support of the Vertical Helicast platform. Whether you're part of a flight crew or just passionate about the world of air medical transport, we hope you found some takeaways to apply on your next shift. If you haven't already, head over to www.echoflightcrew.org to learn more about the teams and programs that support this community, and be sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss upcoming episodes. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Valor Flight Crew podcast, where we continue to highlight the people and stories that make this industry great.